Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk, and rather belated Happy New Year to everyone. One thing, apologies that I didn't put any videos out over the Christmas period. I mean, what we're in the like second week into what day is it? No, it's the third week into, yeah, 15th of January, and it's like I said, it's the first video I've got to put out, but I've had the dreaded lurgy all over Christmas. I had a really bad chest infection pretty much all over the Christmas period, and really bad headaches with it, and not very nice over the over the festive period, to be totally honest. And I thought I was feeling a little bit better, and then I come down with another dose of it, and I'm just about starting to feel myself again now. Like I say, it was a nasty little bout of whatever lurgy's going around at the moment. But one thing it did mean, because I was feeling pretty miserable, didn't really want to do all that much. I did sit in here, and because I've got a heater under here, I could stay nice and warm in the workshop, and I did play a lot of vintage computer games, and I have absolutely loved over the period getting to grips with the Amstrad here. It is actually a really good system to have if you're just going to have one like retro computer, and you know you're into the early stuff, you're into the earlier games. If you can get one of these at not too ridiculous price, they are a really nice system actually to have. It's really impressed me. The only issue I've got with it is I've run out of space. This is the thing, at the moment this is running with its original hard drive. I think this is actually the original drive it's shipped with. These originally came with an RLL, but with this being a slightly later one, these came out, I think these came out in 88 or 89. This one is definitely, from the chips I've seen on the board and everything, this was made in 1990, and I believe the hard drive is dated 1990 as well. So obviously they went over, in the slightly later versions of these, they went over from the original RLL hard drive to an IDE hard drive, but same size. It's a 40 megabyte IDE hard drive. It is the, like I say, I think it is the original, and it works perfectly. There isn't a single bad sector on it. It doesn't sound noisy or nasty or anything. It just works. But like I said, the problem is it's 40 megabyte, and I've pretty much let's get out of here. I've pretty much maxed out the hard drive, I think, with putting games and stuff on this computer. Let's see what we've got on here. Yeah, we've got like, what, 4 meg free or something like that, about 4 megabytes free on this 40 megabyte hard drive. And we've not got a huge amount of stuff on here. You know, we've got DOS, we've got Windows, I think I've got a couple of little bits on Windows that I put on, and yes, you know, some of the old early Windows 3.1 DOS, you know, like little games you could get for it. I've been messing about with some stuff like that on there. And it's got some DOS games, a big folder of DOS games, and like I say, it's pretty much full. So I need more hard drive space on this. Now, I've got two options really. What I could do is I could put a SCSI card in this. I've got loads of them. I've got one thing, I'm fairly short on them ISA cards, but I do have more than enough ISA SCSI cards. I've actually got I've got quite a few of them. So what I could do is put a SCSI card in here, and I've got a few 3.5 inch SCSI hard drives. The trouble is, I've got quite a few which are 40 megabytes, so there's really no point. They're really intended for Apple Macintoshes, and to be honest, I'd rather keep them for use in my Apple Macintoshes. I've got a couple around the 1 or 2 gigabyte size, and I've got a load in the 10, you know, 20 gigabyte kind of size. I haven't got anything around perhaps, you know, 400, 500 megabytes, which would really be ideal for what I'd want to put in this. I haven't got anything, and SCSI hard drives now are, you know, silly money like everything else vintage computing seems to have got. So my other option is the good old XT-IDE, but not as in an 8-bit XT-IDE card. What I'm talking about is the XT-IDE boot ROM. So basically what we can do is we can add the XT-IDE ability to boot and also recognise a hard drive, but basically just as a ROM chip running in the computer, which basically boots before the BIOS and takes over that part of initialising the hard drive. And provided you've got an IDE card in there, which we do have, that should allow me to basically auto boot the hard drive, and I could use any modern hard drive I want. You know, it doesn't matter whether it's 500 megabytes. I've got plenty actually of, like, you know, 300, 400, 500 megabyte size hard drives at 3.5-inch IDE. I've got piles of them. That's one thing I'm not short of. So we could go that way. And basically I think that's what we're going to do with this system. And what I thought I'd do in this video is I'll go through basically how we get XT-IDE to work on a system like this, but not an XT-IDE card that you can buy in assembler, buy pre-built, actually just using the XT-IDE boot ROM to do it. Now the first thing you need to do is you need to go on the web and go to XT-IDE universalbios.org. Now I'll put a link for that down in my video description. But basically on there you go to the pre-built binaries download center, and you can download various different XT-IDE ROMs. Now there isn't just one XT-IDE ROM and that works for everything. There's actually quite a few of them depending on what system you actually want to use your XT-IDE on. So there's a version for like the IBM PS2s, there's an XT version, there's a 286 version, there's a 386 version. Now I believe the 386 version then will work on 486 and Pentium, but there are various different versions of it. So basically you need to download the one that's relevant to the computer that you want to put it on. You also need to download another little program that comes with it, and it's called XT-IDE config. Well, it's XTIDE.cfg.com. And essentially what you have to do when you actually get the ROM files and you just burnt that ROM file to a EEPROM, it won't work. It will not work with the computer. You have to download those basically bare ROM files. You then have to download that XTIDE.cfg.com and then use the computer that you're intending to actually use the XT-IDE on to configure those ROM files for that computer. And obviously I'll show you how to do that now. So I've got on this floppy disk here a few different ROM images which are relevant to this, and the XT-IDE CFG.com. So what I'll do, I'll put this in the computer now. In fact, I'll get you. I'll see if I can get you so you can see the screen a little bit better. There you go. That's better, isn't it? You can actually see what I'm going to type on the screen now. In fact, let me try and turn that. Oops. Let me try and turn that top light off. There we go. That might make things a little bit better as well. Right, hopefully you can see that. Okay, right. So let's go to 8. Type dir, and there we can see we've got XTIDE CFG.com there. Ignore the setup and the command.com because I put them on for a different reason. But we've got basically IDE XT large, you've got the standard IBE XT, and you've got an IDE tiny there as well. You've got the IDE PS2 large, you've got the IDE PS2 standard, then we've got IDE AT large, IDE AT standard. Now those are the ones that we're interested in for the 286 here. and then we've got an IDE 386 large and an IDE 386 standard. Now when I say large and standard, basically they've got different features. You've got the standard version will fit on an 8K EEPROM. The large version is actually about 12K, so you need a 16K EEPROM to be able to burn that. And it has some extra features. Basically it's got like some graphical menus and things you can bring up, which the standard version doesn't have. But we'll go into that in a little bit anyway. The differences and why one's better than the other, for various different reasons and what have you. But anyway, what we'll do, we'll run the XT-IDE config. Now I've already configured these, so we're just going to do it again, just going to show you what we're actually doing. So what we do is we type XT-IDE CFG and we'll run the configuration program. Here we go. So what we want to do is we want to load BIOS from file. So we go down there, we can load the BIOS from the file, and that shows us all the binaries here. So what we want to use, basically, we've got the IDE AT.bin there. You can see it's 8K. It will actually start off slightly smaller than that, but like I say, I've already configured these once, so that's why they're showing at the standard size. Then you can see the IDE ATL. That's 12 kilobytes. I think before it's been messed with, it's like 10 or 11, something like that. So they do increase slightly after you've actually configured them. But we can actually reconfigure them. It's not an issue. This piece of software is not actually just for this. This is actually used with the XT-IDE cards to be able to configure the BIOS on them. We're just using it, like I said, so we can configure the BIOS to be able to use slightly differently. So we'll load the standard one there up. We'll load that. We said load BIOS from file. It'll tell us successfully loaded file for flashing. We'll press enter. And what we can do there, if we look down here, it says configure XT universal BIOS. Now that's what we want to do next. So this basically gets the BIOS ready to work on the computer that you're actually intending to use it on. We'll go down to auto configure there because that's the easiest thing to do. Hit that. Now my computer only has one IDE channel on it, so it's only got a master and a slave, so it's just showing us that we've just found one controller. Press enter. That's basically it. So we go back to the main menu, and then what we want to do is we want to save BIOS back to the original file. We can't actually flash the EEPROM because that's for an EEPROM, and that's for actually doing it. Like I said, if you use an XT-IDE card with an EEPROM on it, you can actually do the configuration and then use this software to flash it back to the EEPROM on the card. That's not what we're using it for. We're just using it to get the raw binary file correct for this computer. So we want to save the BIOS back to the original file. We do that. We hit that. That's successfully saved that XT-IDE back to the file. Press enter. We can exit to DOS. Yes. Right. So we've now got the configured binary for the EEPROM on this disk here. So what I will do is I'll go away now, pull my EEPROM program out, and I'll burn that image. I've actually got a couple more that I've already configured on here, so I'll burn them at the same time. I'll get them burnt to some actual EEPROMs. I don't need to show you me doing that because you've seen me burn EEPROMs plenty of times. It's exactly the same configuration. I'll use the iSpeedmaster, my old Windows 98 laptop, hence why it's great. Do it on the floppy, on the Amstrad. I can put this straight into the Windows 98 laptop, load them up and burn them to the EEPROM. So I'll get that done and we'll come right back. So back. Right, okay, we're back, and I have in here a series of EEPROMs I've burnt. I've burnt a few here. So what we've got the XT-IDE small there, that's the 4K ROM. We've got the XT-IDE 286, the standard version, the 8K ROM. And we've got the XT-IDE 286 the 12K, which is the extended version. Like I said, it's got some fancy menus and things in it, that version. So we have got our XT-IDE boot ROMs here. What we need now is a way of getting these into the computer, because obviously there isn't just like a ROM slot on the motherboard of the computer that we can plug one of these into and it work. Not at least on most computers. Believe it or not, there's a few out there that were built that they might actually have that facility in them. I'm thinking possibly some of the apricots and things like that may have had that option, but for the most part, no. So what you need is some way of getting that into the computer, and by far the easiest way, you can buy dedicated ROM boards, a little 8-bit ISA board with a couple of sockets on it for EPROMs, and you configure it with some jumpers for your base memory address and things like that, and pop it in, and there you go, it works. But there is a cheaper, free way if you've got lots of computer junk like we tend to have, and that is using one of these. What we've got here, this is actually the card that came with the Amstrad when I bought it, and what we've got here is we've got an old Novell NE1000. So this is an original Novell network card. It's not actually the original one. The original one came out in I think it was 86 or 87. This is a reissue from 1990. Basically it's exactly the same card, only they moved a few things around and the jumpers are slightly different, and there's actually, if you download the manual for this, it actually does have the later manual, and it does actually have both revisions of the board in the same manual, because we do have to configure this card to do what we want it to do. We don't really care about the network side of this. What we care about on this is that slot there, that socket there, because all these network cards had the option of a boot ROM. So basically the idea was, back in the day, say you had a room full of 20 PCs, you didn't have to have a hard drive in every one of the computers. You'd have a server with the hard drive and all the software on it running the Novell network, and you'd have a boot ROM in there, and that would actually boot the computer up to tell it go down the network, get all your software off that server. Well, obviously we're not going to use it for that, but it is just a ROM. It just interfaces through the ISA bus to a place in memory. So the card doesn't actually care what ROM we put in there, providing it's, you know, a compatible ROM. It will work. All we have to do is set the card up with a base memory address and what have you, and it will actually work. So anyway, we've got a few options here. So that is the card that originally came in this Amstrad. It's as basic as you can get as a network card, 8-bit. It doesn't even have a modern RJ45 slot on it. We've got the basically thick, which is that thick Ethernet, and we've got BNC 2 base T down there. So as a modern, you know, if you want to put this computer on a modern network, even though you could potentially use this in a bridge box and things, it's not really the kind of network card you would bother using to actually put in a computer that you wanted to put on a network. But like I said, it's absolutely perfect for this task in hand. So we've got that one. Then now I've got a couple here which I'll actually reject for this project for a couple of reasons. These are newer cards. Again, this one does have the RJ45 on it, so this would be more use if whoever wants to put a vintage system on a modern network, so we can plug it in there on a standard RJ45 lead. Quite a nice network card, fairly basic. It is 16-bit. Also has the ROM socket on it. the reason I'm not using this one is this is a software configurable card, as in you actually have to download or find a little piece of software. I believe it is available for this card. So to set your memory addresses, set your IRQs and everything, instead of using jumpers like you do on this original NE1000 card, you actually run a piece of configuration software on the computer, and you can configure all those things using the software and then save it to an EEPROM or something on this actual card. It does actually have some very basic setups on it, as in it's both this, you set that jumper on the end there to software and it's software configurable, or you do have some very basic hardware configurations built into the card, but none of those hardware configurations that are built in are suitable for what we actually want to do with the card. So if you was wanting to use this for the project, you would have to set it to software, load the software up and configure the card that way, because you can't set the right IRQs or the right, well, you can set the right IRQ, but you can't set the right IRQ with the right memory address just using the basic configuration on there. But apart from that, this card would actually serve the purpose. The reason I'm not using it is basically it's a bit too good of a card for what I want to do with it. Like I said, this can go in a system that I actually want to be able to connect to a modern network. So that's why I'm not using that one for the moment. But that one will probably come in handy very soon. Either that one or the next card, that, well, one of the other cards I'm going to show you. And then I also have that card. Again, that's very similar to this one. Only difference is this is only configurable with software, though this doesn't have the few preset that you can set with a jumper. This is only a software configurable card. This is a 3-COM Etherlink 3. These were probably one of the best cards for networking, you know, 486 early Pentium era. I used loads and loads and loads of these cards back in the late 90s. This one is in absolutely horrendous condition. I think this may have come out of Mildred's shed, because he did give me some old bits and bobs when he was clearing his shed out. As you can see, we've got corrosion damage there, we've got horrendous corrosion damage all over here. The RJ45 is horrendously corroded there. But to be honest, if we was only always using this was for XT-IDE boot, none of that would matter. You could just get rid of all that and just use the card, providing the configuration part of it and all that still worked on this card. You could still possibly use it for the purpose of an XT-IDE boot ROM. But just bearing in mind that you do have to run the software to configure this. It is a 3-COM. The software for this is definitely available on places like archive.org. So it would be a usable card for it. It's just this one is in horrendous condition. I might keep this and just see what I can do with it at some point, see if I can actually clean it up and make it into a usable card, because it'd be nice. Like, again, it's another card a bit like the last one that I just showed, that would be okay to put in a computer that I actually did want to connect to the a modern network, although that RJ45 is looking pretty manky in there. Anyway, let's get on to the last card. And this is another fairly generic, in fact this is a UMC. Again, fairly generic network card. The nice thing again about this one is this is completely configurable using the jumper settings on it. It is really a toss-up for this job between those two cards. I'm actually going to go for that one. Now, the only major differences between using these two cards, that's 8-bit, that's 16-bit, that doesn't matter for the boot process whatsoever. It just means that, you know, I don't have to waste a 16-bit slot. I could stick this in one of the 8-bit slots in the computer, and, you know, it doesn't matter. The main difference is actually within the ROM slots. Now, the earlier card, the NE1000 card here, can only take a 2764, so it can only take up to an 8K EEPROM. This card can take up to a 16K EEPROM. So the extended version of the software there won't work on this card, but it will work on this card here, because that's 12k EEPROM. Well, that's a 16k EEPROM burnt with 12k's worth of data. Like I said, it will run on this card, but this, like I said, it's got a maximum of an 8k EEPROM, so we'll have to use the XT-IDE 8k version. In fact, this one I'm going to use for a different project. I've got a project in mind with my apricot. So in fact, even that is not going to be, I was going to use that EEPROM there, but I've just thought that's the 286 version and the apricot's the 386, so I need the 386 version of the large XT-IDE and that card. And I think there is a chance I may actually be able to get around the problem with the floppy drive boot on my apricot. But we'll go into that on an apricot video, which I'm sure will be coming up soon. So for now, what we want is that XT-IDE 286 8K EEPROM, that one. And we need to install it in the NE1000 we've got here. I've already configured this card for the memory addressing and whatever we need. Essentially what we need this set to is a base IO address of 300H. You do that actually on these jumpers here. Again, if you download the NE1000 later manual, it covers both versions of the card, because the jumpers are actually, they're the same jumpers but they're in a slightly different configuration on the board, and that explains exactly how to set it, to set your basic IO address and then your base memory address, which you also need to set. Again, I've set that. I've also set this to IRQ3 because I know that's not being currently used on the Amstrad for anything, so that's fine. So basically this card's ready to go into the Amstrad and take over booting the hard drive in the Amstrad. Now we do have to do one last thing actually, thinking about it. Let's put that in there for a second, because that's the one we're going to be using. And we'll put that one away in a sec, because that is going to be coming in use in an up and coming project. Let me get you down. Back on the screen, because what we do have to do just let the Amstrad boot up. Now it does take a little bit of time. It's actually going through the memory count at the moment, and I don't actually realise if there's any way of skipping that on the Amstrad. Right, there we go, we've booted up. And what we want to do is we want to go into setup, so oh, hang on, that's Windows setup, that's the wrong one. Just bear with me a second folks, that's right, F3 to get out of there. I'm in the wrong setup, you see. F3 to exit. Right, CD DOS. Then, because what we want is the BIOS setup for this computer. There we go, we've got the BIOS setup here. And if you look, just to show, the date has literally rolled over and we're actually in 2025 there. So believe it or not, this, you know, computer that was built in 1990 is actually Millennium compliant. And it's an Amstrad. Right, what we need to do is we need to turn the hard drive type off there. So we'll go down to type 17 and we'll set that as type 0. so it's not fitted. If we didn't do that, then there's going to be a conflict between the BIOS in the Amstrad and the BIOS we've got on here, I think, trying to actually boot the hard drive. So we're good there. What I will do, I will get the camera set back up so we can actually see what we're doing, and we'll get the we'll get this card installed. We'll see if we can get this all working, and then we'll have a look what we're going to actually do for hard drives, because I'm not going to go quite the way that most people go and just put a nice big 500 meg hard drive in this or anything. I'm going to go a slightly different way. So back in a right, okay, here we are. So we don't actually need to take the whole computer apart just yet, just to see if we can get this to actually work. What we will do, we'll take the top off. Not whether you can see, let me see if I can get you a bit closer. Right. Well, if we have a look down there, we can see there basically what all we've got in this system at the moment is we've got the sound card that I fitted in the previous video on this computer. We've got the original Minscribe IDE hard drive controller there. And that thing is like super simple. The IDE controllers really are very basic things. There's just, you know, a little bit of address decoding and some buffering, and that's really about it. And we've got an 8-bit there and a couple of spare 16-bit slots there. So let's have a think where we're going to actually put things. I think I'll probably use one of them 16-bit slots. I mean, they're not going to be used for much else. I'm not really going to be putting much else in this system. Possibly, maybe a SCSI card at some point, but that would only be so I can connect up a CD-ROM drive, really. I don't really think I'm probably going to do that. Yeah, it's something, it's a possibility. I may put a SCSI card in here as well, but to be honest with what I'm planning to do, I don't think it would actually really be that necessary. Let's make sure that that's seated there. Yeah, I think that'll go in okay. Getting cards to seat in the Amstrad is a bit of a faff. It doesn't fit cards in quite as well as a more conventional computer with a metal case. They fit, but they never feel like they fit quite brilliantly, shall we say that way. So we've got the card with the XT-IDE ROM in there now. Let us see. I'll put this back, we'll get back down on the screen and we will see whether that's actually going to work. Let's move that back out. In fact, let me get you set back up and then we'll see if that's going to work. So back in a sec. Right, okay, we've got you back down on the screen there, so we'll switch this computer on and let us see if that's going to work. So obviously we'll have to let it boot up again. As I was saying, it does take a fair old bit of time, this computer, to actually get through this initial test. I think this is where it's counting the memory up. And it's purely the fact that we've got 4 megabytes in this system. That's actually a reason why I don't really want to go any bigger than 4 megabytes in the system. It just takes so damn long for the memory count to happen, and there's no real benefit for having any more than, you know, perhaps 2 or 4 megabytes in a 286. So let's have a look here now. There we go. It's found it. Alright, we're coming up with a missing operating system. It shouldn't be coming up with a missing operating system. But as you can see here, we've got master. It's not actually giving it an ID. Probably because it's that really old Minscribe hard drive, and I don't know whether they actually did know. I've known a lot of really early hard drives, and you put them on a ID controller that can do an auto recognise, it just comes up blank like that. Don't know why it's coming up as missing operating system though, because that hard drive has definitely got a functioning operating system on it. Not left a disk in the drive or anything, have I? But we've obviously, like I said, we have definitely found that it has booted with the XT-IDE there. As you can see, XT-IDE Universal BIOS AT at C800H, that's the memory address. Got the revision of it there. Just bear with me a second, folks, and I will see if I can figure out why it's not booting from the hard drive. Let's just give it a quick. Let us try. Yeah, I'll come back when I've got this sussed out. So back. Right, okay. Time for attempt number 2. Now, I actually think there may be an issue with one of them EEPROMs that I burnt. I've actually just swapped from that 8K EEPROM to the small version, the 4K one that I had. And, well, we'll just see in a second whether this is going to work. It has just worked before, so I'm wondering whether... I actually have had some issues with some of the older EEPROMs that I've got. I think they're starting to fail, some of them, and I really need to go through all my collection of EEPROMs and actually root out the ones that really are no good anymore and get rid of them, because I think they keep getting mixed back into the pile, if you know what I mean. Here we go anyway. Master, again, like I say, it doesn't actually find the name for it, but it doesn't come up not found. Boot in A, boot in C. And there we go. Windows is booting. I think it's just trying to see if we can find the sound card at the moment. But essentially, yeah, I think there might be some. I think it possibly might not be finding the sound card. I wonder if actually I've got a slightly dirty ISA slot in there or something like that. But apart from that, yeah, like I said, you've seen it's booted. It has frozen there. That seems to be when it was running the sound card. In fact, let me just try that one more time. Let's just switch off, and we'll actually unplug that sound card. So I wonder if it is just having a little bit of an issue, perhaps with a dirty slot or something. That doesn't look too bad. It looks fairly clean on the actual card itself, on the edge connector. I'll look at that after anyway. Let's try it without that card in. You just have to bear with me again, because like I say, it does take a little minute or two to get through its memory test list. I wish that actually there was a way of skipping it. There might even be a way of skipping that, but as I don't have the manual for the PC2286, I don't know. It's something I really want to get, is actually an original manual for this computer, but I'm prepared to pay a reasonable price, not a ludicrous eBay price. Right, hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll boot into DOS fully this time. I said we may just have to tinker with that sound card at a later date. Yeah, there we go. There we go, that's working now. So yeah, I am going to have a little bit of a tinker with the old sound card, but we can do that when we're right at the end. What we need to do now, now we know the computer's working, it's recognising the hard drive using the XT-IDE Universal BIOS. We need to think about hard drives. Now, the easiest thing to do now would basically to be open up the computer and put something like that in it. That's a Seagate ST3660, 545 megabytes, and would be quite a nice size to have in this computer. So I really don't like going much bigger than 500 meg in, you know, a 286 or 386, because if you do, all you end up doing is every time you type dir when you're doing stuff, you end up spending ages for it to count up to the end of the hard drive. There's more than enough space for what we really want to run on one computer on something like this. And that would be the easiest thing to do, is like I said, just take the hard drive out of there, stick that in its place, put every bit of software I want on there, and go like that. I'm not going to do that. The fact is, I really like the sound of that original MinScribe hard drive, and as long as that hard drive works, I want to use it as the main boot drive. So yeah, what I could do then is set that to a slave drive, make sure that the MinScribe set to, well, it will be set to a master. I don't think they even have cable select on them. But set that to a slave drive, make some brackets up, mount that basically there where the second 3.5 inch floppy drive would have fitted if this had been the dual floppy drive version, and we'd have our C drive there as the original MinScribe, and we'll have this as the D drive. I'm not going to do that, because a while back, actually before Christmas, when I was thinking about what to do with this, I went on eBay and I bought that. What we've got there, this is a compact flash to IDE. You know, we've seen them loads of times, we use them for loads of things, but this is a really cool one because it's on an ISA backplane. So my idea is, I'm going to make this as the D drive, as the slave drive, but instead of being a normal hard drive, we can just use, and I've got quite a few of these 512 meg compact flash cards. So basically that's going to be the idea. I'm going to install that in the computer as the slave drive, and I'm going to use these, if I can get it to go in there, I'm going to use these compact flash cards. What that means is, if I want to get software onto this computer, all I have to do is basically pull the D drive out, stick that over there in my bridge PC, copy whatever games or whatever I want to mess with over onto that, shove it back in the Amstrad, and I've got access to all that software, and I'm still running my original 40 megabyte boot drive. But it doesn't matter how many games or programs or anything I put in there, and like I said, I can easily just swap that out. I can have multiple of them cards with different things on them, and I can easily, like I said, copy stuff off through my bridge PC onto that compact flash card, boot it as the D drive, and use it on here. So that is the plan. So we'll get this shut down, and we'll see if we can get this installed in the computer. So back in a sec. First off, apologies there, because I forgot to hit record, but you haven't missed anything really. So what I've done up to now, we've got the original hard drive there. I have had to reset the jumpers on that, because as it comes, it's set as basically just a single drive. There is a jumper block underneath, and you can configure it as either a master with a slave, or you can configure it with as a slave. There's a couple of other things you can do which you don't see on more modern hard drives, to do with like memory addressing and things like that. But basically I've got that now set as a master, expecting to have a slave. We've got the IDE to compact flash connected up there. So if I put a compact flash card in fact what I do need to do, because I dislodged it before, is connect up the hard drive light at the front. So we'll have to bend that out yet again so I can get in here. Let's get that plugged back in like that. So at least the light on the front of the computer should work. Let's get this all back sat where it should go. I have changed out obviously the IDE cable, because the original one only has 2 connectors on it. We need one with 3 connectors on. So if I switch on now, you can see we've got a light on there. In fact, you need to see what's happening on the screen, don't you? So if I pop that down and I get you kind of up on the screen and down a bit. Good job we've got plenty of time to do this, because it's takes so long. But as you can see, let's just watch that count up there now. Hopefully it should come up with 2 hard drives. Nearly there. Okay, excellent. So we've got the hard drive, which obviously it's not coming up there, but we've got our SanDisk come up next to it, and I can see the hard drive light flashing here. That's booting. The moment of truth is, once we've got to the C prompt there, can I get into a D prompt? Invalid drive specification. I wonder if that card is not actually formatted. Let's try an F disk. Oh. F disk. I'm not going to actually format this card because it might have something on it I actually want, but let's see if we can actually see it there. 5, enter. Yeah, it's there. There we go, 489 megabytes. That should be okay. What I'll do actually, I'll shut down. If I will prove that works now, what I will do is I will tidy this mess up. So, like I said, at the moment we are a bit of a hodgepodge. Let's move that over there. Well, basically what I've got to do is route these cables so we can get that fixed down into here, make sure all the cables run nice. I might have to find a different cable because I don't think that one's going to be long enough to do what we need to do. But I mean, that's all it is. It's a little bit of cable management. One really cool thing which I have found is, and this is an Amstrad thing, this computer could have been sold, let me see if I can get you out a little bit so you can see a bit more what I'm trying to show you. This computer could have been sold with just 2 floppy drives, so the floppy drive there, no hard drive, and another floppy drive here, basically in this position here. And what the computer has is it has the cabling for that configuration, so without me having to mess about inside, we've got basically a Molex here with 5 volts and ground, which would have originally been used for this second floppy drive. We also actually have another one here with 12 volts and ground, but that connects to a little board down there which I am going to reconnect, and that's for an external floppy drive. And I might actually try and rig up an external 5 1/4 inch floppy drive for the Amstrad, because it doesn't have a 5 1/4, you know, internally. I do have plenty of spare 5 1/4 inch drives and spare 5 1/4 inch enclosures, so I might actually try and make one up to use the Amstrad standard on the side here with that DIN connector and the power connector, and have an external floppy drive with it. So I have connected that one back up, but this one isn't needed because we don't have a second internal floppy drive, and that is exactly what we need to power up the compact flash card, because that just needs 5 volts. That is exactly the right connector, and it literally just plugs on there like that. The only thing I've had to do with the card, obviously, let me get that disconnected for now. Come off you come. The only thing I've had to do with the card itself is flip that little jumper there on the card to change it from a master to a slave, and that works great. That's quite tight actually. That works really nicely. These are super cool. In fact, I've actually ordered another one of these for use in my apricot. I might even order a couple more of them because they're like a £5. It's like £5 delivered from China. You can't really go wrong with that, and I say it's such a nice, neat, elegant solution. That into the side of the computer there, and I can just easily swap data between this and the more modern system with the old compact flashes. So anyway, what I'll do, I'll get all this kind of like put together and the case back on with all this plugged back in the computer, and we can have a look at the final result and see what we think. So back in a sec. Right, okay, we're all back together, we're all up and running. I'm really pleased how I managed to get all that in there quite neatly actually. Let me just squiz you over and then you can have a really quick little look. In fact, how am I going to do this? Because I don't want, in fact, I'll take you off the tripod for a quick second and we can go over and have a look like that, can't we? So if I pop you off the tripod, there we go. I take you over here. You can get an idea basically how I've got it connected up in there now. So we've got the network card with the XT-IDE interface in there. We've got the sound card in. That's now working. All I had to do, I give the slots basically a shot with some contact cleaner, pull them in and out a bit. I think they were just a little bit dirty. The sound card's now working. We've got the original MinScribe IDE controller there, and then we've got the compact flash controller there. And actually something I didn't realise, I didn't know. Let me get you back on the tripod for a sec. I've only actually just found this out. But basically, on an IDE cable, I always thought that you had to put, the controller on one side, and then your controller was there, and then you'd have your master and your slave, or your master and your slave. You don't actually have to do that. The way I've got this set up, I've got the controller plugged into that there. I've got the master, which is the original MinScribe, plugged into there, and then I've got the compact flash plugged into that side there. That just made cable management that much easier in this configuration, especially with the IDE cables I've got, because I didn't have anything that was just quite long enough. Doing it that way, I actually managed to get it all to fit. So what I'll do, I'll get you shut back down, I'll get us down onto here, and I'll just boot up the whole system with a compact flash card in it, and you can see me load into it. If I've got another one that I haven't tried here yet, this one, I don't know if there's anything on it or not, so let's see. We'll get this all down, we'll power it back up, and we'll see what works with that one. In fact, at the moment, let me get you down a bit. Sorry if that was a bit rough. At the moment, how I've got it is basically we've got our normal C drive there, which is the old MinScribe, and the D drive is actually a 64 megabyte compact flash card, and it's one that I've used for a long time. I actually messed about with it in some old laptops and things, so it's just got DOS 5 on it. That's all that's on there. But it just proves that it works, 61 point something meg. It's a 62 meg card. So what I will do, in fact, we don't need to, you're quite happy there, aren't you? You can see everything that's going on there. I'll knock my top light off, perhaps get rid of that shadow, and what we'll do, we'll shut the computer down. I'll pull that 64 meg card I was just using out there. Now this might not have anything on it, but I've got another one of these 5112s. It's not the same one I showed you before. I think actually that one might be formatted for the Amiga. I think that I was using that one in my 600, but I think this might have some stuff on it. So we will shove this in. We will switch on. And let's see if it recognises that and we can get into it. Actually, one of them could actually be formatted for NT, so it might not work. I'm just thinking, I think I did have one of them and I was using it in a system which I had formatted for NT, but never mind. Let's see if this is going to work now. But either way, we've proved it works. We've proved, even if I was using just that 64 meg there, it does the job. I can put whatever software I want on there using my Bridge PC, plug it into the back of the Amstrad and get instant access to it. And the computer still sounds right, it's, there we go, it's found the SanDisk. It's found its drives. Hopefully it's going to boot from the C drive now. And it does. There, and it's found the sound card this time, so it was just a dirty slot. Now let's see if we can get into D. There we go, and there's some software on there. See, like what we've got there. Keen. Let's put some audio on. plug that in while we're here. We might as well, mightn't we? Oops. I did something wrong then. What did I just do then? I think I just knocked something. Just apologies about that. Oh, you daft sov, you knocked the socket. When I was getting the audio cable to plug in there, it was caught round the plug socket on the floor, and it just nudged the socket. That's all it was. Anyway, let's fingers crossed that hasn't caused any damage. Let's see if this is going to come on. There we go. Found C. And there we go, it's booting again. Oh. It's not found the sound card. I think I've still got, in fact that sound card's slightly loose, isn't it? Because it's that's one of the things that hasn't got a screw in it, so I wonder when I was plugging it in there, I also knocked the sound card. Anyway, that's not going to stop us. Let's have a play about with some software. Let's just see if we can run something. This could be the same version of Keen that I've already got, actually. This is Keen 4, so it's Keen 6 I've got on the other one. So let's see if this will run. Pity with no audio, but yeah, I must have nudged that before. I'll sort that out though anyway. But that's looking good. This is obviously running off the this is running off the compact flash. So yeah, that's working nicely. Yeah, that's working. Excellent. We'll quit there. Yeah. CD // let's see what else we've got on here. Car and Cob, Keen 4, Keen. There's stuff to play with on here. Jetpack, Steel Sky. I think that's beneath the Steel Sky. That might be quite good to play with. Anyway, actually, I'm going to leave it there for now. But I think that's been quite successful. So we've now got the XT-IDE boot ROM in the computer. So if we did want to put a bigger main hard drive in there, we easily could do now. But more importantly, we now have a D drive that we can easily pull out without disturbing the computer, without pulling the whole computer apart. We can just pull this card out, like I said, stick it in my bridge PC, stick it in a more modern PC that's got access to the internet, download whatever we want to play on the Amstrad and mess about with it on the Amstrad onto that, plug it in and go. I think it's probably the easiest, neatest solution for getting data in and off the Amstrad and for playing about with it. Anyway, actually, I'm going to leave it there for now. I hope you enjoyed this video on doing that. So I'll say thanks for watching and goodbye.